Good morning to you. This is Bill Bullock, and here we are here at the Biblical Lifestyle Center in Texarkana, Texas, USA. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us come into your cell phone or your TV or your car, or whichever way you are receiving this broadcast today. Thank you for letting us be part of your life. Thank you for coming with me, coming into my little office, my little cheder, my place of communication and conversation. Let's just have a few minutes together. Let's spend a beautiful part of this Sabbath day, the Sabbath of Parsha Tisa, the 21st subdivision of Torah. Let's just enjoy ourselves and delight in the beauty and the majesty of our Creator and the world, the ecosystem that He has created for us to live in and to be caught up in and engaged in a plan for Him. This is the Parsha I call the secrets of transitioning between the realms or elevations that we deal with in the covenant. We've been talking for weeks now about the beauty realm of the Holy One. He is giving us this beautiful tour of the holy chambers, the throne room, and its outer courts and its inner chambers, and the beautiful things that are in it, the beautiful people that we've seen walking around it. In Tetzave, we saw this thing we in English language have so cavalierly called a priesthood. Oh, beloved, these are the beautiful people, doing beautiful things in the beautiful place of the tabernacle. So we have been caught up in this beauty realm. But there is another realm in which we function. We must learn to function in the beauty realm. We must learn to get our energy, our empowerment, and our passion from the beauty realm. But once we get that, we must learn to transition between the realms, come to the other realm. And this is the realm of the ordinary, the common, the realm in which we live in this world, in the thorn and thistle environment in which we're engaged. In the situation where we will face trauma, we will face drama, we will face difficult times, we will face difficult people, we will sometimes be difficult people and do dangerous, damaging things. How do we function? We've been caught up in majesty, in wonder, in beauty, in the Creator's own home. And now He wants us to be able to function with the same level of reverence and awe and majesty and beauty on this earth, in the realm of the mundane and the profane and the common. How do we do the transition? Well, this Parsha Tisa, the 21st subdivision of Torah, is designed to give us some secrets of transitioning between the two realms, the two elevations in which we are designed to function, and doing so without wreaking havoc, without doing harm in the process. And I call this my little subdivision or subtitle that we talk about today: From the Beauty Realm with Love. From the Beauty Realm with Love. Receive this message, receive this drash about Parsha Tisa in that spirit. It's from the beauty realm with love. So here we are, we get started. I need to kind of brief you and remind you. Let's talk together about what's been going on. Previously, in this section of Torah, of the book of Exodus, as we think of it, I call it the Great Nation Building Chronicles. Previously in this section, we have learned some crazy, wild, stunning things that change our paradigm of looking at the world, change the way in which we think about our Creator and the creation He's put us in, and totally revamped our way of thinking, our worldview. I hope it has. I hope it is still doing so, because we don't need to have the worldview the rest of the world does. We don't need to fit into their ideas and their plans. We need to have an enlightened worldview that's based upon the plan of the Creator of the universe. So previously, in the Great Nation Building Chronicles, building out the great nation that the Holy One promised He would give out of the seeds of Avraham, to bring a blessing to every family on the face of the earth. Previously, in the Great Nation Building Chronicles, the Holy One has revealed the stunning reason that He cut covenant with Abraham, the stunning reason that He delivered Abraham's seed, along with a mixed multitude from every nation of the earth, from bondage. And the bondage was to the world's elites, and to the ecosystem destructive ways of the world's elites and the world's nations, the world's religions and the world's ethnicities and the world's cultures and the world's intellectual protocols of intelligence and education and information. All the world systems are a bondage, and they are ecosystem destructive. Nothing man does on his own is productive for the environment. Instead, what the environment we're called to live in and raise our children in and raise our grandchildren in and set in motion. These things that we're given responsibilities of tikkun over cannot be fixed by man's plans, man's theologies, man's governments, man's policies, man's ideas of religion, man's ideas of justice. These things cannot be fixed that way. But the Holy One has a plan. The Great Nation Building Chronicles is a section of that plan that tells us he plans to restore fellowship with and abide in the midst of and commune intimately with mankind. Mankind, starting with Bnei Israel and the mixed multitude that came out of Egypt with us. He has a plan to restore fellowship with mankind, abide with us, commune intimately with us, and call us into a co-laboring mode of sharing the responsibility for keeping the ecosystem of earth and the creation running smoothly and building to its planned climax. This is what he's designing us to do, and this is a grand, stunning revelation that we are to be a part of that plan, and we are part of his grand redemption and restoration campaign for the earth and the creation. Well, in order to facilitate this, we have already learned in the Great Nation Building Chronicles that the Holy One wants Abraham's seed, I should say, to prepare him a beachhead on earth, to connect the realms. The realm of the beauty realm that we talked about and the realm of the mundane common are to be connected. There's a point of connection, a point of interaction, a portal where one flows into the other. Now, obviously, we don't want the world of the common and the profane transporting itself into the heavenly realms, into the beauty realm. What we want is the other thing exactly. We want the holiness and the majesty and the wholeness of the beauty realm to invade earth. So he is commissioned, our Creator has commissioned Abraham's seed and all who will join with Abraham's seed to prepare for him a beachhead upon the earth, a portal through which Kedusha, through which beauty, through which majesty, through which healing power can flow. A set apart, spiritually elevated, unpolluted earth space. And in that earth space, in that beachhead, he can then abide with us. He can abide in the midst of a redeemed nation that is a messenger and an ambassador to all nations. He can display his beauty for the world to see. He can display his majesty to inspire. He can display his goodness to encourage and empower. He can display his goodwill and his good vision for the world to see and reconnect with the original plan of creation, not with what has happened in regard to serpent speak. And the third thing he can do with regard to this beachhead, how he wants to use this beachhead that he wants us to build for him at Mount Sinai and then carry with us wherever we go. He wants to have a place to receive the supplicants, the hungry, the thirsty, those who would come from all the nations, from all the places to seek him, and he would receive them. He would receive sinners. He would immerse them in life and circumstance-changing levels of energy and kedusha and holiness and passion. That's where he wants. He wants a place where he can begin to wreak healing where everyone else has been wreaking havoc. He wants us to use this beachhead place, this spiritually elevated and unpolluted earth space that we call the tabernacle, to have regular briefings with his people, with his ambassadors, who is us, with those to have autocorrect. We correct ourselves whenever we go astray, and whenever we'll be re-encouraged, re-inspired each time to have regular meetings and briefings in this tabernacle. And he wants to reveal to us his plan of redemption. He wants to reveal it not just to us, though. He wants to reveal it to all mankind. And he has a unique, beautiful way of doing it. He plans to inaugurate a script he has written, a passion play that he has designed, that it will be played out in human form with props and with beauty and with majesty and with scenery changes in the tabernacle. It will be the stage on which the great passion play of creation and what the Holy One designs to do for redemption and restoration in the world will be shown to the world, starting at the Mishkan, at the tabernacle, as it's called. So that's where he is. We're now at Parsha 21, Ki Tisa. We're getting close to the end of the book of Exodus, of the great nation-building chronicles, so we're going to get a critical point today. This is the week the Holy One is going to teach us about the absolute worst moment in our national history. The infamous calf sin incident is at the center point of Parsha Ki Tisa. Everything leading up to the calf sin is to prepare us for it. Everything after the calf sin incident that's in this narrative of Ki Tisa is to help us to deal with and make tikkun for that calf sin incident. As we said, the pivotal point of this Parsha, of its sequences, is the calf sin. How did it happen? How are we supposed to prepare against it so it doesn't happen again? Yet it does happen again every day in different places of the world with different people taking up the golden calf mindset, the golden calf approach. How do we protect ourselves and our children and teach our children's children not to do these things and how to recognize the telltale signs of it before it hits us? And once it happens, because it does happen, it still happens in all these places all the time. How do we fix it? How do we begin to make a restoration for it? What are the protocols the Holy One has set in motion for us to overcome this sin problem that's all centered on the calf, on the idea of us making our own way, doing our own thing? Well, the focus of the sin narrative of the calf is not upon the ugliness of the sin, although it was ugly. This is an important point to get, and here we are in our little chamber, our conversation in my office, talking about this. Please don't be disgusted by the calf sin narrative. It's just human beings doing what human beings do. Don't get offended and angry, and don't get all up in your spiritual self-righteousness thinking that, oh, I wouldn't do that. How horrible those people are who did that. This is humanity operating in humanity in the fallen state. So the calf narrative focus is not on the ugliness of the sin, though it is ugly, nor is the calf's narrative based subject matter about the depraved nature or the behavior of the sinners. That's not what it's all about. That is just the backdrop against which the great story of redemption and restoration is to be told. Preparation, understanding, walking with the Holy One, overcoming, transcending, and then being made whole. This is the story. This is the basics of the calf sin narrative. Don't read it out of context, or you will begin to think of just how horrible those people were, and you'll begin to be anti-Semitic or something like that, where you just blame Israel or blame Aaron or blame Moshe or blame her or blame somebody for this situation. No, this is human behavior. The issue is we need to know. We need to be skilled and trained by the Holy One in recognizing it before it happens, not overreacting to it, not being disgusted by it, but instead understanding that it needs to be touched, it needs to be healed in the greatest way possible. Another subtitle I would use for this Parsha and its message is, He who is forgiven much loves much. Oh, beloved, if your message is about information, if it's even about revelation, but it does not have at the heart of it the forgiveness message and the message of the love of God and what it means and how it affects us and how it heals and how it cures. If your message is something else, then your message is not the Torah. It's something else. If your message is not the healing power of the Holy One, then your message is not the good news. It's something else. So let's get back to the good news. The focus of Torah is on the ramifications of and ill effects of sin, only to the extent it gives us and awakens us and drives us into the protocols of awakening to conviction to making teshuvah, to accepting and walking in the forgiveness that is offered to us, to embracing that as being our lifestyle, and then getting up off the mat and getting back to work in the grand plan. Now, before we go too deep, I need to acquaint you with something I think we take too cavalierly, especially in the religious realm. People talk about sin, and they think they know what that means. And maybe they do, and maybe they don't. And maybe they are repeating words, repeating phrases. Maybe they're parroting as opposed to actually speaking out of the beauty realm, from the beauty realm with love. Do you understand sin? Do you understand dark energy? It's what I call it, at least. Dark energy is to all human beings who get caught up in it somewhat like a black hole is to the light radiating nebula that get drawn into its gravitational pull or its super gravitational pull. Dark energy, it's what pulls mankind downward, what keeps them from being elevated into the beauty realm, the majesty realm, and the walking with the Holy One lifestyle. Dark energy pulls us down. And that dark energy takes the form of something that in most times is just generalized to call sin. Do you understand what sin is, though? And do you understand what dark portals, or some might call them Pandora's boxes, this idea, this falling into sin or the stepping off into sin opens up for us? Do you even comprehend what havoc this thing called sin, this surrender to dark energy, wreaks on its perpetrators, on its victims, and on every affected watershed region of creation? If you understood from the Holy One's perspective what sin is and what it does, you would not pander to it. You would not wink at it. You would not think, oh, it's just people being people doing things. Aren't they cute? You would understand this is killing mankind. This is destroying the beautiful creation that was designed to be a home for so many nations and so many species. This is destroying everything, so we must have a plan, a protocol to deal with it. So let's educate ourselves about this thing called sin. We can start, beloved, by defining some essential dark energy terms. What is dark energy? What is sin? Let's just use sin to begin with. Sin is a translation into English. We don't have such a word in Hebrew. Sin is in Hebrew is chata. And that chata is what happens, like for instance in the Garden of Eden, when humans ignore the Holy One's instructions. Ignore the Holy One. Without the Holy One's instructions, there can be no chata. But when the Holy One is given instructions and we as human beings choose to ignore them and go another way, walk a different and contrary path away from the way the Holy One has designed for us, a path that suits our own will and our own agenda and meets our own appetites and our own plans and hopes and dreams, and then we find a justification for doing so in pleasure or thinking that we impress or appease others. This is hata. Happens when we ignore the Holy One's instructions and choose to walk a different path. We veer off of the path that He's set for us. That's just the first. That's the thing called sin or hata. But there are so many different levels and so many different rays. The next thing is trespass. You heard this, sin, now trespass. These are not the same. But they are very closely related. This is a part of the flow of dark energy. Different levels, like in a swimming pool or a river, you find different levels of depths. Well, trespass is the next depth after hata. Hebrew is pesah, not pesach, which is a different thing. It's the lamb. It's the idea of the leaping over, overcoming. Pesah, which is related, but is related. What happens when the hata that we've just experienced, going off in our own ways and instructions, choosing to walk in our own ways, has an inevitable result. The inevitable result is trespass or pesah. And what it means is that spiritual and social boundaries get breached. Feathers get ruffled. Tensions rise. And they morph into offense. And that offense goes unmitigated and turns into a grudge or an anger, a hatred, a sulking, This is what happens with trespass. This is why sin, hata, leads to pesa, trespass. If we don't have an intervention protocol. Oh, but we're not through yet. Just sin and trespass, or hata and pesa, are not all there is. There's another series of levels deeper into the waters of the dark energy. We have transgression. So we have sin, trespass, transgression. We have hata, pesa, and now parats. Parats is what happens when harm is caused. We've had the sin, we've had the trespass, we've had the feathers ruffled, we've had the grudge, the anger, the offense. Now we have actual harm resulting. When harm results, harm is caused, injury is inflicted, damage is done. That's transgression, or parats. Oh, now we've got trouble, right? Well, we're not through yet. With the trouble, with the damage inflicted, with the lack of wholeness that takes place after parats, or transgression, we have another deeper phase of the dark energy river. And that's in English called uncleanness. In Hebrew it's called tumah. Tumah. And this tumah is what happens when one's mind and will and emotions, his soul, his nephesh, gets exposed to this negative energy and gets immersed in that negative energy of the damage done, the injury inflicted, the harm caused, the offense held, and gets caught up in that negative energy. And it starts to affect one's self-talk, what you think and what you say to yourself, what you think of other people in your own mind, how your opinions develop, and how your worldview develops. It begins to skew your worldview. This is what uncleanness, tuma, does. And then it affects your speech, and you begin to say things that are lashon hara, that are negative about other people, or even about yourself, or about the Holy One. This is how it goes. Self-talk, then speech, then it begins to hit your reactions. You react out of covering up, you react out of anger, you react out of defensiveness, and how you respond to others and to situations is affected as well by this tuma. This is what happens when your mind, will, and emotions get exposed to and immersed in and affected by the negative energy of the sin, the trespass, the transgression. Well, this begins to affect your behavior. It begins to affect your mental, emotional, and physical health, and your spiritual health. It begins to, all those things, all those areas of your life begin to absorb the negativity and suffer ill effects, and then you become contagious with this negativity. Oh, we're not through yet. Another level of sin, of the dark energy river, is iniquity. In Hebrew, it's avon. Avon. And what it means, or what it is what happens when a series of go your own, do your own way choices congeal into a pattern of habitual behavior. Oh, when people become objects to you for use in pleasure or advantage or pain avoidance. Oh. Now this sabotages relationships, of course. This is where the sin begins to work against the sinner in a horrible way, because it sabotages his relationships or her relationships. And it begins to wreak havoc on everything you touch. It wreaks havoc on your home. It wreaks havoc on your work. It wreaks havoc on your money, on your provision, on your food. It wreaks havoc on your body. It wreaks havoc on your spirit. It wreaks havoc on your emotions. It wreaks havoc on everything you touch or that touches you. That's the iniquity. Avon. See how dangerous this stuff is. This is why we have sin narratives in the Torah. That's why we have Tisa, to tell you, don't take this lightly. This is important. You understand the sin narratives, how to recognize them coming, how to see it coming on, and how to deal with it if it comes on. The next level of the darkness energy, we're not through by any means, is evil. We call it evil in English, but in Hebrew it's another word. It's ra. Ra is what happens every time a person gets self-absorbed, resulting in him or her choosing self-gratification, self-justification, self-promotion, self-actualization, all over all other motivations. And when I say self, it can also be one's friendship group, one's ethnicity, saying that you want to promote them and gratify that group. Same with regard to a religious organization, or a regional affiliation, or a political or ideological affiliation. Whenever you get absorbed with this dark energy of self-absorption rather than the greater whole of focus, then you see that we have Ra, and that Ra begins to poison everything in your world. Well, that's not all. Then we have rebellion. The next level, after all these others we've gone through, is rebellion. In Hebrew, it's Mara. Then Mara. Is what happens when bad attitudes morph into sullen moods and rants. Do you have that? Well, you ever get in a mood and you want to rant? Well, this is what has happened. Mara has set in, the level. This is a phase, a stage that you've gone through the first stages. Now you're into the sullen moods and rants. And thoughts become conspiracy theories. You begin to be looking around in paranoid delusions. Even if part of it's true, the issue is how you react to it. You react to it in paranoia and in self-justification and in self-defense. And you become critical of other people and critical of things, even critical of yourself. Judgmental. You become judgmental. You begin to use standards of judgment against other people you do not apply to yourself. And you focus more on other people's messes than you do on your own lack of walking in the Holy One's way and having his shalom and operating in his kindness and his love and his mercy standards. You get opinions, and your opinions become so more important to you than truth. You don't want the truth. You want your opinions to be validated. This is rebellion. You get negative emotions that explode out of control, and you like it. You like to be angry. You like to be outraged. You feel like it's justified. You feel like this is the right way to do. Oh, you're down the road a long way in this sin continuum, down this chata road. And this rebellion says, you think it's right to be angry. You have a right to be angry. You have a right to be outraged. You have a right to vindicate the truth as you see it, which is really your opinion. And when this happens, your courses of action are determined not by anything the Holy One has said we're supposed to do or not do on this earth, but instead by a cost-benefit analysis. What will make me feel better about this? What will make me feel like I've accomplished something about this? They're driven by paranoia. They're driven by rage. Opinions and decisions and actions are driven by lust and critical speech and judgmental, sarcastic, cynical conversations. And you fret over evildoers all the time. And you want to make sure everybody gets what's coming to them. All the wrongdoers, the bad people of this world get they get it back to them. Karma. Well, you even go down the Eastern mystical religion's idea that they deserve to have these things happen to them. Love is nowhere in your vocabulary, or if it is in your vocabulary, it's not in your halakha. And so what that happens is you become so toxic eventually that you attract the unclean spirits. You attract the people in the modern Christian world would call them demons, and these you become obsessed by and possessed with uncleanness. Well, we're not through yet. In the deep level, we're getting down to the deep levels of the river of dark energy. Then kasam, witchcraft, kicks in. This is what happens, beloved, when a person allows the uncleanness we just talked about, the disinformation, the disarming, the deceiving methodologies to begin to operate against other. We employ these methodologies of deception, disinformation, disarming, hyper-opinionation, control, manipulation, and corruption to other human beings. We begin to try to be an influencer for the dark energy, through the dark energy. Well, then the next phase, the next level of the uncleanness river, or the dark energy river, is abomination. And this is the ultimate. This is the line through which we cannot recover. This is toeba. This is the spiral to the end, to the chasm. And there we are, the abomination, toeba. And this is what happens when you cross a line, a toxicity line that makes social isolation essential because you're just too dangerous. You're too broken. You're too angry. You're too caught up in conspiracy, paranoia. And what happens in this situation is relationships collapse and break up. and firings have taken place at work, and ostracism takes place socially and culturally, and you get banished from, or you banish yourself from social interaction. You see, the dark side of fallen humanity is dark indeed. Hata has its horrible death spiral. It's a wormhole that takes you down through all these different layers that I've talked about into the wormhole bottom, which is abomination. Now, once you start down the dark energy vortex, the downward pull is very difficult to overcome. Difficult, but by no means impossible, as we shall see. That is what Tisa is all about. While we're talking about hata, sin, and transgression, and trespass, and all the other things, the levels of the dark energy, we should give you the reminder that there have previously been 11 main episodes. The Torah keeps telling us these episodes because they keep recurring. The episodes are prototypical of life in general. The first one was the garden transgression. The second one, that was the course involving seeing things through another person's eyes, not through the Holy One's, and just disregarding what the Holy One says, the garden transgression, what happened with the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Then we see the way the Holy One dealt with it. He always gives a protocol for restoration. The next thing was the field of transgression. Cain envied Hevel. He went to find him and killed him in the field. And then we have the protocols of restoration took place after that. Then we have the pre-flood transgression. And the world was full with corruption and with violence. Shakat and Hamas. And the Holy One showed you the protocols for dealing with that in the post-transgression protocols of restoration, building a new earth, a new environment. And in the midst of that, we had the Father's tent transgression when Ham came into Noah's tent, and they find out there's a level of uncovering going on. This uncovering part is the nature of the whole dark energy issue. And uncovering, we have a protocol of recovering, of covering back up. And there will be another protocol of purging, but we'll get to that at a later date. So the fourth of the sin scenarios, or the hata scenarios that Torah tries to acquaint us with, is the Father's tent transgression, when we want to reveal other people's uncleanness or uncovered nakedness. And then we have the city and the tower transgression, the whole story of Babel. That story is given to us because it's prototypical. All men are always building a city and always building a tower whenever they're following their own ways as opposed to walking in the ways of the Holy One. And we saw there's protocols as how to deal with that, how the Holy One will deal with that. And then we see in the cities of the plain transgression, we see Sodom and Gomorrah, we see what happened there. And we are given great details about what happened in Sodom and how Lot's family was engaged in that process, and then what happened after the scenario and how the earth was restored and healed through the actions of Avram in that regard and through the Holy One's ways of restoration. Then we have the Esau's clothing transgression narrative, when Yaakov deceived his father by dressing up in Esau's clothing and pretending and lying, and we see that transgression. And then what was the protocol for purging, particularly. There was covering, but there was also purging that took place after that. These two important facets of dealing with the hata, the sin problem, the dark energy problem of man. First is covering. That must take place for this realm and for this immediate time to get us back up. And then there is the longer range protocol of purging. And that involves bringing us back into the plan of making tikkun, making restoration, making healing for the world. Well, I'm not through yet. Esau's clothing transgression led quickly to Laban's human trafficking transgression. He trafficked his wife. He trafficked Jacob. He trafficked everybody. He was a human trafficker, and we saw the protocols of dealing with that. The Shechem deception and the violence of that process. We saw what happened with the sons of Yaakov, other than Joseph, and Benjamin, the youngest, they engaged in this deception and violence. We saw the cataclysmic result of that, and yet then we see we're introduced to Teshuvah at Bet El. So we have these different series, and we're not through the brother on brother transgression. Maybe the central transgression of Torah is what happened to Joseph at the hands of his brothers, and how that was healed, that was restored. Everything about not just the horrible actions and how bad the actions are. That's not the real story. The real story is how good the redemption is, how well the Holy One has all this understood and planned. And then in Egypt, we just got out from Egypt, and that was the oppression of strangers' transgression. What Pharaoh did, what Pharaoh said, what the Egyptians did, how they treated us. This was the oppression of strangers. It could be someone besides us, how we treat other people, but the idea is oppressing of strangers and the poor and the foreigners and the fatherless, those who have no protection, and those who oppress them. That is the oldest. That's the 11 previous transgression episodes. But now we go back to the idea this is about healing, not about wounding. This is not about sin, it's about redemption. This whole story of Torah is about redemption, beloved. And the whole story of the kingdom is about redemption. There are two ways of dealing with sin, the Holy One knows, and its effects. There are two ways of dealing with sin and its effects. And the first one is for this age, and it's the immediate need, which is covering. Kippur in Hebrew. For this age, to get us back up from sin, from a sin narrative, either being a perpetrator or a victim or both, and to get us back in the game of restoration and redemption, the Holy One provides something called covering. This covering is the covering of the blood, it's the covering of the garments, it's the covering of the tabernacle, it's the covering of the wings of the cherubim, it's on the ark, on the mercy seat. It is the covering. The Holy One wants you to know that though He understands your chata, your transgression, your pesa, all the different levels and stages of how sin has affected you, He provides a covering. And that covering is to get you back up, get you back in the game, get you restored. But this is not the end of it. Covering is an event, one time or repeated as necessary, designed to dress you up for success in the thorn and thistle world. If you want to go out in the thorn and thistle world, you better have some garments on, because else it'll tear your flesh, tear you up. So to get you dressed up for success in the thorn and thistle world in which we live, in this other realm that we occupy down here, He wants to cover us. And He will let us do it. And by this covering, we can sit with Him in the heavenlies. We can transition between the realms, go to the beauty realm, sit with Him in the heavenly places, as Shaul of Tarsus talked about to the Ephesians. We can have this scenario, but we must understand it must come under the covering. Now, the covering is not the only way the Holy One deals with sin and its effects, and He trains us to deal with sin and its effects. The longer term way, the ultimate way, is the protocol of purging. It takes more time. It's a process. And the process involves walking with Mashiach, smelling the fragrant oil of His aroma that He's covered with, and then listening to His voice and being trained and calm, walking through, walking around, walking past, and bringing healing in its way. It's called putting on Yeshua. Not so that we can just sit with Him in heavenly places. That's covering. But so that we can rule with Him. So that we can release His energy in this world as we go through it. That is a purging process. Now, if you understand the difference between covering and purging, you understand the difference that's referred to in the book of Hebrews of what the messages of Aaron and his sons and its priesthood was versus the message of Mashiach. And what he has done, his priesthood of Melchizedek, because you see, one was about covering. And that is an important, critical need we still have to have. The other is about the age to come and connection with the age to come and point of connection with the age to come. And that requires a protocol, process of purging that involves walking with the Messiah, not just believing in. So here we are at Ki Tisa. What does Ki Tisa mean? Ki is the first word, ki. In Hebrew, it's a preposition that means if, as, when, and to the extent. What's the second word? Tisa, ki tisa. Tisa is the second Persian imperative form of the Hebrew verb nasa. Nasa means to lift up. to carry, to take from one place, to transition with, to make something, to bring something from one place to another. Well, this is the idea. When you lift up, when you carry, when you begin to take something from one place to another, and what are we taking from one place to another, beloved? We're taking the beauty realm, the wonders, the majesties of forgiveness and love, and forgiveness of cleansing protocols, covering protocols, purging protocols from the heavens to the earth when we lift up. And we do that through our interactions with the tabernacle when it's physically on this world, and through our meditations on the tabernacle and its ways and its priesthood whenever it's not in this world. Put the two words of ki and tisa together, and it means when, if, as, to the extent you lift, you rise, you heave up, you take up these things. So we should be prepared to do some heavy lifting in the week of ki tisa. Every one of us is called to be a carrier of something. We have to see what it is and its value to the world before we'll pick it up. We have to take the divine energy to pick it up and carry it the way he wants it carried, with the responsibility. Think about the Ark of the Covenant. A lot of people want to pick up something holy, but they don't know how to pick it up. They don't think about the protocols and how it needs to be handled to bring about the biggest good. So learning how to lift up, heave up. When you lift up, when you heave, when you rise up. The idea is to engage in elevation avodah, the service of elevation, of elevating, of transport, to take something from one place to another, to take something from the holy realm, the heavenly realm, into the earthly realm and deposit it where it needs to be. And transcendence avodah, to not be caught up in the swirling vortex of the hata, of the sin. Well, these B'nai Israel chronicles are in place. They are taking us somewhere. Our primary challenge this week is dealing with what I call spiritual barotrauma. Barotrauma, decompression sickness. If you think about a diver, a scuba diver who's gone deep into the waters and now is trying to transition back up, you've got to be careful, otherwise your body gets barotrauma, decompression sickness. And you get what's called the bends. But the idea of transitioning between realms carries its dangers whenever we are not trained in how to make the transition. And the Holy One wants us in ki tisa to learn the necessary disciplines, what we focus on, what we do, how we approach things, the protocols of decompression that will allow us to make a smooth, safe, and responsible transition when we leave the beauty realm of our King, which we should visit regularly, and we come back and we actually deal hands-on with the mundane dimensions of life in the flesh, with evildoers, with damage done, with all the things that we've talked about as far as everything from violation, from transgression to trespass to abomination. Now, we're going to have some guinea pigs for this experiment or this exercise. We're going to have Moshe. He will be our first guinea pig. Aaron will be a guinea pig. The 70 elders will be Where were these guys last? Last time we saw these guys, they were up in that beauty realm. They were at one level. Moshe was at the highest level. He was getting the Mishkan discourse. He was touring the chambers and courts and throne room of the Holy One and getting the dimensions for what to build on earth as a replica of that throne room. That's where he was, but just a little bit lower than him when we last saw them. Aaron and Hur and Nadab and Abihu and the 70 elders, they were just a little bit lower. And they were also in this beautiful, the realm of sapphire, the realm of the courts, where the decrees are issued and where the beauty of the Holy One's wisdom is manifested. They were up there and they ate and they drank in the presence of the Holy One, and they were not harmed, and they just were in awe of the beauty of the Holy One. That's how do we do transition when you come back to earth? When we come back to deal with real people having real problems, going through different stages of the dark energy river, how do we handle that? Well, there should be a good transition where we can move seamlessly between the realms. But unfortunately, we'll find out that is not the normal way. At least when we first get started, we tend to throw things. We tend to break things. We tend to scream. We tend to do crazy things in the name of the Holy One that he would never tell us, has not told us to do, because we can't handle the transition from the holy realm to the realm of the unclean, the profane, the common. So Moshe is our guinea pig. Aaron will be a guinea pig. The elders will be the guinea pig. They're test subjects to show us what it looks like and how difficult it is to make this transition when you're not prepared. We don't want them to repeat their mistakes. So you can think of this Parsha Tisa, not just as the Parsha of the sin of the golden calf and its aftermath and its preface, but also the Parsha of essential re-entry protocol. Now here's the situation. If not handled properly, a little revelation can be a dangerous thing. If not handled properly, beloved, we should know this, right? A little revelation can be a dangerous thing. Now, this is one of the things we need to discuss and understand, because otherwise we'll think we've got a little revelation, we can do with it what we wish. We now are armed to the teeth to wreak havoc with it. That's not the way this works. Revelation is precious. And revelation must come not just with the revelation of the information that we have, but the revelation of the motivation behind it, the revelation of the demeanor of the creator of the universe who gave us the revelation, and the place the revelation fits in the greater grand redemptive plan for restoration and redemption. I call these discussions we'll have divine mystery stewardship protocols. Revelation is mystery. Divine mystery stewardship revelations. Mystery, if you understand the Hebrew, mystery is actually a word that's taken directly from the Hebrew. Mystery means of or from satar, my satar. Satar is to conceal, my concealed things. So mystery is from my concealed things. That's why we call it a mystery, but it's just it's from a Hebrew phrase that means from my concealed things. So everything we are given mysteries. In Deuteronomy 29, we're going to be told that the secret things, the Hanishtarot, the things of the Satar, the Holy One's secret things, belong to the Holy One, our God. But those things which are revealed belong to us and to our children forever for a reason, not just so we can have them, that we may build, asa, all the words, all the things of the Torah, that we may make the Torah come alive in real time. The secret things belong to him, but he reveals them to us a little bit by little bit so that we can build them, one's building one phrase by another. I would also point you to Proverbs 25:2, a familiar passage. It is the glory, kavod, of God, of Elohim, to conceal. Satar, here's that word again, to conceal. It's the glory, the weight, the heaviness, the majesty of God to reveal, to conceal rather, to satar, a matter or a word. But the glory of kings, the responsibility of the royal ambassador of households, is to search out, to chakar, a matter, to begin to keep pushing toward getting revelation. Now, we're talking about revelation and its impact, how it could be beneficial or it could be detrimental. Revelation, truth, is not altogether healthy. Truth, if not applied through the protocols of rules of engagement of the Holy One, is actually dangerous, more dangerous than deception is. So I want to give you another passage. Yeshua, the Master, our rabbi, in Matthew 13:11 said, "It has been given to you," talking to his Talmudim who were walking with him, who were in the tikkun or the protocols of redemption, to know. It's given to you to know the mysteries. The mysteries of my hidden things of the kingdom of heaven. But to them, to others, it has not been given. Why? Why wouldn't he give these mysteries? Why wouldn't he give these beautiful revelations to everyone? Because a little bit of revelation, a little bit of that is dangerous. So the mysteries are not given to everyone. They're given to those who are committed to handle them responsibly. 1 Corinthians 4, verse 1 and following, Shaul says, "Let a man consider us as servants of Mashiach, first of all, and stewards of the mysteries of God. We are not just possessors of the mysteries of God. We don't own them to do with what we will. We are stewards of them. The things that are the hidden things of the Holy One are not given to us to wield like a sword. They're given to us to steward like a precious gift to mankind. For instance, the two tablets we'll see about. Moshe was given them to steward them, but he doesn't transition between realms well. And he's going to break them. He's going to wield them like a sword. Well, let a man so consider us, Shaul says, as servants of Mashiach and servants, as stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, he says, it is required in stewards that they be found faithful. If you are a steward of the mysteries, you are especially called upon to have a heightened level of accountability and faithfulness with those. We don't handle them like swords. We handle them like precious gifts. 1 Corinthians 13, verse 2, Shaul continues, and though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries, and have all knowledge, and though I have all faith such that I can remove mountains, but I have not love, I am nothing. If I have not the understanding and the compassion and all the things that the divine love light includes, I am nothing, though I have all these things. Beloved, buckle your seatbelts, watch, tremble, and learn. Watch the bad example set by Aaron. Watch the bad example set by Moshe. Watch the bad example set by the elders of Israel as to how not to handle the revelation you received, but instead to make mistakes. We are introducing, and the most important thing I could do today is introduce to you the love light protocols of Torah. If we're going to handle the revelation, if we're going to take the things and lift up and carry the precious things that we find in the beauty realm, in the place of interconnection between the heavens and the earth, between the beauty realm and the profane realm. If we're to handle the things we receive there, we must handle them according to the love light protocols of Torah. We'll find much more about these protocols in Leviticus 19 and Parsha Kedoshim. That would be the love chapter of the Torah. But we're going to talk about the love light protocols in a more general sense right now. We need more sweet-smelling incense, the Holy One tells us, and less eye-catching, sensory, overstimulating imagery. We're going to need more mercy, more compassion, more atonement, more forgiveness, more favor and grace, more balm of healing, and more oil of gladness, and a lot less emphasis on form of religion, on ideas and concepts and abstractions and constructs, or principles or spiritual sensory experiences. Now here is the Hebrew, here's the message I have for you. I pray if you want to take notes, if you want to just star this place to come back to it, I want to give you a beautiful picture of the love light spectrum. The Holy One motivates us with love light. Ahava in Hebrew. Ahava, we call it love. Love, ahava is not the kind of a nice affection that people have in the world. Ahava, form of love, the love light of the Holy One, is to see beauty and good and desirability in someone or some group, and therefore to pursue relationships with that person or group, and to pursue closeness and intimacy with that person or group, and communion with that person or group through a process of syncing gradually the breath and the movement rhythms. We begin to get in breath rhythm and heartbeat rhythm, in movement rhythm, and do things together with him or her. This is ahava. It is a beautiful picture that goes well beyond an emotion or a feeling felt. It goes to a whole approach to life and a focus in life being based upon syncing breath and movement and activity and thought rhythms with the one you are loving, with your ahaving. It means keeping all this going for a greater good, not for a personal, selfish, hormonal fix in mind. This is not lust. This is not even a desire to conquer or a desire to have somebody else. This is a desire to serve the Holy One in accordance with his love light protocols. Well, there are 7 disciplines There are seven proving grounds. There are seven, like a light, every light has at least seven spectrums, color spectrums. So it is with the love light of the Holy One. His love light comes in seven different colors. The first one is chesed. The lowest but the brightest level is covenant faithfulness. A relationship of kindness kindness built upon a special relationship. Chesed. English is sometimes called mercy, other times called covenant faithfulness. It's what endures forever. Bless. We give thanks to the Holy One, for He is good, for His chesed endures forever. His covenant faithfulness, His special relationship-based kindness. That's the first color spectrum of Ahava, the love light of the Holy One. The second one is chen. In English, it's usually translated grace, sometimes favor. But it comes with the idea of a long-term vision for restoration and function. That's why the Holy One doesn't just have grace because he's being a nice guy. He sees something. He sees a potential, and he begins to work toward that vision of restoration. And he gives what's necessary to foster that. That's what's chen. So we have Hesed being the first color spectrum, chen, grace, mercy, favor being the second. Then we have the third love light spectrum, the color of Ratzah, to delight and take pleasure in, and to bring pleasure to and bring delight to, where we synergize with one another and we begin to conjoin wills together to fulfill the greater purpose that goes with that great vision for restoration and function that I talked about with chen. So we have the color spectrum of Hesed, we have the color spectrum of chen, we have the color spectrum of Ratzah, and now we have the center point, Rachem. And this is often translated compassion, sometimes mercy. But Rachem is what a womb does for a child that is being birthed, being formed in its. It begins to adapt to it. Rachem is womb nurture. It provides, like the womb provides blood and cleansing and all the things in a place. So Rachem provides all those things for us. And then we have the fifth of the seven color spectrums of love light, and that's Hamal. That's a gentleness, a favorable treatment. It's first referenced in Torah in the discussion of how the daughter of Pharaoh looked at Moshe. She looked at him with Hamal, with gentleness, with favorable treatment. She didn't wish any harm, didn't have any negative feelings toward him. She overcame those. Well, that's Hamal. That's the love light. How are you doing on these love light spectrums? Because you don't just say, I love the Lord my God with all my heart, with all my soul. I love my neighbor myself. You need to have these seven disciplines and proving grounds of Aha, these seven color spectrums, before it can be said truly that you have love for those different realms. But we're not through. We've just given Hesed, Chen, Ratzah, Rachem, and Hamel. There's the sixth of the color spectrums, and that's Mashak. Mashak is a word that translated in English would be patience or forbearance, slowness to anger, slowness to be angry with someone, despite their messing up. Mashak, means that we've had a touch, and we touch them, and this touch between us, and this actually comes the word we got to get Mashiach out of, that there is a common touch that carries a patience and a forbearance and a long-term vision. And then the seventh of the spectrum colors of the love light of the Holy One, of Ahava, is Salak, and that is forgiveness. Forgiveness of trespass, forgiveness of chata, forgiveness of transgression, forgiveness of iniquity, forgiveness of rebellion, forgiveness all the way up to, of everything up to abomination. Now, the greatest challenge that hosting the presence of the eternal, invisible, holy, spiritual God presents to us as mortals is to maintain proper alignment and cooperation between that spirit and ours, to have his love light purely come into us without it being tarnished, without it providing a corrupted light, without flickers of flesh, burning flesh taking place. How can we make the love light pure? That's our challenge. Our temporal fallen flesh and our corrupted mind, will, and emotions provide the world a picture of an animal creature, but we have to make that animal creature share space with this Holy Spirit of the Holy One and his love light. We have to basically cause the animal to be less and the spirit to be more. Now, that's the challenge that we deal with. Well, beloved, the thing that the Holy One does before he tells us about the golden calf and the patterns of thought and behavior and concern that lead up to a sin like that, an image. We'd rather have a God we can manipulate, control, than that serves us, than we would to have a God that we serve, that we conform to his image. So we that's the golden calf image. To prepare us for that and the aftermath, the horrible aftermath of that, he gives us the cure. The cure in advance of the sickness. He talks about this thing called atonement in English. But it's not what you think it is. Atonement is a word that's been used by theologians to get abstract concepts going in your head. That's not what what the word in Hebrew is. It's kippur. It's covering. The Holy One wants you to understand that he has a covering prepared for you. Like Noah, like the sons Japhet and Shem provided for him when Ham had uncovered him or left him uncovered and mocked him. He provides a covering, like he did for Adam and Hava after their sin episode. He covered them with skins of an animal, of a lamb slain before the foundation of the world, so they would be equipped and prepared to go out and get back up off the mat, go back out into the world and resume their calling upon the earth in the thorn and thistle world in which they would have to now operate. So he has these motivations. Now he also wants to teach us more than that. And though after the golden calf incident, he gives us the midot. He takes Moshe up into the mountain. Moshe, who had fallen perhaps more than all of us in the whole process. We had all had a bad time. But Moshe, and he takes Moshe up in the cleft of the rock, and he speaks over him his characteristics. And they begin. Merciful, slow to anger, compassionate, all the love light language being provided, forgiving of sin and unrighteousness or iniquity and rebellion, all the way up to abomination level before stopping at that abomination level. He said, this is who I am. You've mistaken me as being a judgmental God, one who hates human beings that he created and is offended and insulted and hurt by these things. No, I am the one who wants to heal and knows how to do it. Beloved, it's time for me to leave you. I have a joy of going next door. We have a bat mitzvah today. It'll be a joyous thing. And so I will leave you, but I will leave you with a blessing. May the Holy One watch over you, protect you, defend you. May he show you his love light, and may you be bathed in it. Amen. See you next week.